It's time to adjust those shoulder pads, backcomb what's left of your hair, and jump into the DeLorean for a look back at what's possibly the best decade anyone could ever have grown up in.
Shall we play a game?
This is Bring Back the 80s with your hosts James Alderson and me, Andy Jackson.
Welcome to the second episode of the Bring Back the 80s podcast. Andy Jackson here.
James Alderson at the mic.
At the mic. There we are. We're in Havant. We're in the Spring Arts in Havant.
Yeah, back again.
To the guys here in the cafe for letting us use their place again. James off the comedy stage, me off the radio, and this is very new to where you grew up, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah, and very apt for the episode we're doing where we are in this lovely cafe.
In this particular episode, we're going to be talking about 80s food.
Yeah, a drink, you name it. Yeah, great.
Lunches.
Why not?
What's for tea?
Exactly. You name it. If it's edible and drinkable, 80s was a great time, wasn't it? Well, I mean, don't judge me now. I mean, I wasn't this big in the 80s. The thing is, I remember we weren't all, I can't remember big people in the 80s.
There was no fat people. Don't call them big, call them fat.
I think one in every school year. Like Rowley at Grange Hill.
But it was the one, already we're going off on a politically
already stalking inappropriate.
But, there were no fat kids.
We were just all skinny, see-through, purpley, waif-like pasty things.
Even with the free school milk as well.
Yeah, everything. And I mean, when I do the school run now, get the kids, not a hobby. They all seem quite portly, and I do wonder why, because I think chocolate bars are smaller, Andy, so they've really got to go some, haven't they?
Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? So
yes.
We'll be doing that very, very shortly.
Yeah.
So chocolate bars, were they bigger in the 80s? I'm just going to say we'll be out here right now. Immediately, Wagon Wheels definitely 100.
That is the one.
That's
the one that everyone says.
But we want to touch on what was in your packed lunch as well.
Yeah.
If you were a packed lunch kid at school, was it all healthy stuff? Was there any quinoa? Don't think that's particularly going to be likely.
There's no fruit. Have one of your 5 a day. I think I had 5 a year. I didn't have 5 a day.
Different world, and no such thing as wholemeal bread, brown bread if you were lucky. And as well, what would you be cooking up for tea as well? So if you'd be coming home, everybody would be doing their cooking at home.
Yeah.
Come home to all kinds of goodness. First of all, though, before we get onto any of that, we had loads of entries for last week's Mystery Sounds.
Thank you very much, everybody.
I'm just going to remind you what the mystery sound was. Once it becomes apparent, you're going to, if you were one of the people who got it wrong, you're going to say, oh my God, of course, that's what it is. Wrong guess is from Pauline McLaren. She said, is it a soda stream?
No.
Definitely not a soda stream, but we will be looking at that one possibly later. But no, not a soda stream. Chris Elliott said he thought it sounded like the Evel Knievel stunt bike wound up, which I had one of those, and I know you had to wind it up so that it could go over the jumps.
Yeah, very similar noise. Yeah.
Kind of similar.
Yeah.
So I can see where you're coming from. He did give a second guess, so he got it right with the second guess, so that's good. More correct guesses from Reese Evans and Rob Williams, and Tony R on Twitter.
Brilliant.
Well done to you.
Yeah.
Liz Roebuck, who said, I listened on the way to work today, loved the podcast, and was always annoyed when I had to do the thing that would make that sound at home.
Yeah, it was annoying.
Yeah, Amanda J. Blackstaff has got it right. Gary M. has got it right as well. It was...
Rewinding a VHS cassette.
Rewinding a VHS cassette.
Be kind, rewind. Save yourself 50 pence fine. Your mum lose her mind.
It was always such a disappointment. I don't know why you would come back from the video store and you put it in and you would have to rewind.
Yeah.
Or like you're taking 5 precious minutes before you could see the actual movie.
Yeah. Very frustrating. Most people did it, I think, because they didn't want to be fined 50 pence.
Yeah, but just in case you missed it.
It just sounds so archaic, doesn't it?
Everything was so slow, but all good things come to those things.
I remember the old ones who didn't have the slow wind down at the end. They would just go, yeah. You think, oh no, it's going to rip the tape off. It's so vicious. It's just an angry machine, wasn't it?
And that's lovely sound when you actually put it in for the first time as well. It would just like suck the cassette in,
and
disappear and do it to make it weird noises. And you think, is it going to play? Usually,
going to destroy it.
Anyway, look at all these correct entries that we've got here.
Great.
One of these, I'm going to ask you to give them a little shuffle.
I'll have a little finger about.
A little feel.
Yeah. And that is the winner in here. Shall I take it out and read it?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. It is, of course, Rhys Evans. Well done, Rhys Evans. Well done, mate.
Congratulations. That's as old as us.
Just going to litter that.
Obviously as old as us.
Yeah.
But that was last week's Mystery Sound. We have got a new one this week, which we'll be coming to very shortly indeed.
Brill.
But first of all, they're getting the tickets, aren't they?
2 tickets to whatever of my Bring Back the 80s tour dates you want, Rhys. So if you message in or comment on this and tell us which one of the venues you want to come to across the South of Hampshire and into Sussex, then you can come along. If you feel like you're being punished for getting it right, then you can always gift them to someone who'll appreciate seeing this for 2 hours.
Who would want to see that?
I don't know. My wife.
Who would not want to see that?
My kids.
So that's all covered a little bit later. The new Mystery Sound. I guarantee if you were a child in the 80s or a young adult in the 80s, guarantee that you're going to know what it is. I haven't even told you what it is.
You haven't? No. Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But not to say what it is, though.
True. I'll try to remember that.
So that's the Mystery Sound coming up later. But I know you always like to come in bearing gifts, props.
I do.
What have you got for us this week?
Well, I'll show you. This isn't my special surprise, Andy. This is just something that I found that blew my mind. And I'm going to reveal it now because it's tucked under my arm, making me very awkward. This isn't great for people who are just listening. But I found this in a car boot.
Oh my God. Right, describe it for people.
It is a bottle of sparkling Corona Shandy, full, unopened, from the early 80s. The lady who was selling this on her stall, just hold this up. The lady who was selling this on her stall, I think she thought I was a little bit special because I exploded nearly, like this probably would if you opened it now. It's still got the fizz. I mean, get the advert. Let's get physical. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Who sang that? Was it Fonda?
I couldn't tell you.
Yes, I think it was. What was it? No, it wasn't. It was who was from Greece? That one. Anyway,
John Travolta.
No, it was the lady.
Olivia Newton-John.
That's it. I think it was her.
Yeah.
Might have been her. And I'll put that there because I'm proud of it. And I said, "Oh my God, it's a Corona bottle." And she said, "Yes."
Feel this because I've not.
She said, "Don't open it," she said, because and don't break it. It's lasted all these years. I said, "It's lasted 40 years. I'm not opening it ever." It's still got get your money back on the top of the thing. Reveal it and get your 5 pence back. I don't know. Anyway, amazing Corona. Let's get physical. I'm hot enough sitting here, so I'm not going to get physical.
I'm just looking at the ingredients on this as well.
Yeah.
With the Shandy, would this have been a kid's drink, would you think?
I think it probably would have been,
Because the first ingredient is beer.
It just takes the edge off, doesn't it? It's making me nervous you holding it, Andy. It's beer, sugar, carbon dioxide, fruit acid flavouring, caramel, saccharin, and qualia. I thought I should quinoa then. Qualia. They've got some quinoa in the Corona and qualia extract. I don't know how you pronounce that.
We'll
on the postcard. Crikey! Thank you very much.
I particularly like that because when I was, I suppose when I was a child, I would occasionally help him with Dad's shop in London.
Yeah,
and he had like a kiosk and tobacconist, and we would actually sell Corona. And one of the reasons that I used to go there and help out during the summer holidays was that I could eat as many sweets and drink as much Corona as I wanted to do. So it was like a bargain all round.
Yeah.
Probably illegal now, but
and you probably saw these everywhere. I found this on the side of the road. Everyone was throwing it out, and that had been in their parents' pub. It's the real thing Coke shelving for about 40 years, and I said, "Don't throw that out." And she said, "Why?" I said, "It doesn't matter." Why shouldn't I throw this tat out, you lunatic? And so there we go. It's the real thing for Coke. That was like a slogan in the 70s, but so prevalent, all these plastic shelving of Coca-Cola all across the 80s and 90s, so I had to get it.
everywhere you would go as well, there would be like everywhere would be Coke branded, wouldn't it? The umbrellas, they would say Coke on it.
Yeah.
Even the front of the shops would just say Coke, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And they brought out that brilliant advert that went, for what it was in the 80s, viral, where all the kids were stood on the side of the mountain. Do you remember? I'd like to buy the world of Coke. And, no, don't buy the world. It's too much sugar, too much saccharine. I don't know what it's got in it, aspartame or something. Don't buy the world of Coke.
There's not a lot of good in there.
No. This says it's got fruit acid in. Is that good?
And beer's got to be good.
Beer and fruit acid,
like a natural thing.
Yeah. So if beer and fruit acid, what's to go wrong with the old Corona? Oh, buy the world of Coke. Buy the world of Corona.
So apart from what we were drinking, which was Coca-Cola, even in those, but Pepsi was a thing as well, wasn't it? It was a Pepsi war.
Yeah, the Cola Wars. They did all that, and everybody, I think Michael Jackson did the Pepsi. Was it the Pepsi advert? I think he did it with his hair caught fire. And it was definitely a Cola Wars happening in the 80s.
Do you remember as well, you used to be able to have, for some bizarre reason, you'd be able to have a drink with a lump of ice cream in it? You'd have Coke, and it would have...
Was it a float? Floater? Not a floater. Not a floater.
Don't want to be drinking anything with a floater in it.
No.
But it was, bad branding there immediately.
Yeah.
It was called a floater, but it literally was. It was Coke or Pepsi with a dollop of vanilla ice cream.
It probably was shit.
Yeah.
When you tasted it.
It was a treat, though, wasn't it? We were easily pleased back in the...
Oh, yeah. Put something with something, it'll be lovely. Surely.
Sure. So not only were we drinking the same rubbish that we tend to drink today as well, takeaways were not such a big thing, though. I don't know, remember, now you go down any high street, it's all chicken shops and kebab shops, everything in there. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what we had, and it might have been definitely Wimpy.
Yeah,
would have been a thing.
Got a badge here. They probably can't be seen, but yeah, Wimpy. If you have a Wimpy, or if you didn't, once you go to your rich mate's birthday party at the Wimpy, where the most awful icon of fast food, the fattest suited caricature came out at the party, who looked like he was full of heart disease. He was just the biggest head, the biggest nose, the biggest guy, the worst advert for fast food and junk you could ever imagine in your life. Which is like, no, have a slim guy, have a slim fit guy, don't have an obese guy advertising your product.
But this was before people were fat, isn't it?
No, but he was fat.
Yeah,
Mr. Wimpy was fat bugger.
Remember as well, what we're talking about, sort of bad branding. Do you remember one of the things when if you did go in and you would eat off of your China plate with your knife and fork?
Yeah.
One of the sausages that you could have, they cut the side. Do you remember what that was called?
No.
It's called a bender.
No.
It was
not. It was
called a bender.
No.
And you would say, I'll have a bender and chips, please.
And a Coke floater.
Different worlds.
Well, yeah, it's amazing too. We think that we ate with knife and fork in there as well. Just stunning. Same with Happy Eater. I've got a Happy Eater thermos up there, and you'd go in and you'd ask for a burger and chips, and you'd get your knife and fork and your napkin. Just like, okay.
When I was, because I'm a little, as we said, I'm a little tiny bit older than you.
Loads older, yeah.
When I had a proper job back in the day, one of my jobs was driving around from shops to shops fixing their cash registers and their tills.
All right.
And I had to cover miles and miles and miles. I always used to look forward to going to a Happy Eater.
Yeah.
And they used to do like a steak that wasn't a steak. Basically, I think it was a burger in the shape of a steak. I think it was called a steaklet or something like that. I used to think it was like, oh my God, I used to look forward to this. I'd be dreaming of it on the drive there. But basically it was a burger in the shape of a piece of steak. Looking back, again, easily pleased.
We were all conned, weren't we?
Weren't we?
All conned.
So, apart from that, there was KFC. That was a thing, I think.
Just started. I think certainly the first KFC's, the first McDonald's cropped up late 80s,
Yeah, I think, do you know what? Actually, McDonald's was late 70s.
Yeah.
So we were kind of acclimatised to them across the whole country.
Well, don't forget, I'm coming from Havant, so we had our first McDonald's end of the 80s, early 90s. Paul's might have had one, but around here, I mean, the Big Smoke, but we're a London boy, so you saw all these fascinating things cropping up, and we just heard of the mythical fast food.
I remember going to, when I was in London, I had to go all the way up to, I think it was like Waterloo Station or something, from where I lived in South London, and it was like a bus ride and a train ride to go and try McDonald's.
I know, and you could get chips for like 40 pence or something. It was the menus that they share on social media now.
And no knives and forks.
No
knives and forks.
And lunatics. What were we thinking? Eat with your hands. I remember my granny died in the late 80s, and I remember my mum saying that she would not have known what to have done. We would have thought it was disgusting.
It would be common, wouldn't it? It's common. You're a common person if you eat with your fingers.
Fingers are strong.
But now if you just eat, people never used to eat walking along either.
No,
you would not be eating or drinking in the car.
No,
you would certainly not be eating or drinking on the bus or the train. That was.
Well, we haven't got time to stop and eat and drink now, Andy.
No. Life's too fast now. Far too fast.
Or you're like me and you just eat at any opportunity, and you're just walking, sitting, sleeping. But yeah. It
did used to be a treat, and you would go out for a treat. I remember having Wimpy for my birthday.
Yeah.
I could choose between Wimpy or we had a Chinese takeaway, and we could have Chinese. I could choose between the Wimpy and the Chinese for my birthday treat.
Yucky sod.
I don't know.
Hey, life's for living, everybody. But the big memory for me, because we didn't have any fast food where I lived, was the packed lunch, like you say. That was the big thing for me. And I tell you why, because I would have packed lunches at school and loved them. But the horrible memory was I got terribly travel sick on school trips, and everybody bringing out their packed lunches was a death sentence for me, because they'd open up the sandwiches and there'd be egg.
There was the fish paste sandwich.
Oh, don't.
That smell. I mean, they tasted.
No, they didn't. No.
Love a fish paste sandwich.
No.
But is that what?
Wow. And the mixture of ashtray in the back of the headrest in front of you, and the motion of the car, the coach, and the 4-hour trip. Why did coach trips take so long? They were like, it's an hour away, but it's a 4-hour journey. It's like, stop opening your packed lunches. James is going to be sick again.
And on the school coach trips, it was always the shit coaches they put you on.
Oh, Christ.
Never, ever be given a nice coach.
And the rare occasion, one would turn up round the corner and everyone would bolt to the new one, or the newish one. I say new, it was an ex-reg or something. And then you'd end up getting on the stinky one. And the coach drivers are always miserable, mostly because they've got chunder down the middle aisle already, some sort of carrot floating down the middle, and you're like, oh God, how long's this journey again? Just an hour. 3 hours later.
Well, we were, that was something to look forward to, even though you might have been sick on the school trip.
Yeah.
To actually be able to get out of school and go somewhere that was not a classroom.
Yeah.
My memories of school, I hated school. hated school.
It's because you wanted to get home to the Chinese takeaway, Andy.
It was not a weekly thing, James.
I thought you were posh.
We were not that posh.
Oh, okay. Good. But do you want to have a look in my packed lunchbox?
Is this the surprise?
There is a surprise in there. Well, there's a few surprises in there, and I'd like you to have a little look.
Transformers.
It's a Transformers packed lunchbox. There is a thermos behind you, but I haven't got space in there for that. But I wanted to put some traditional things. Well, it might all sort of fall out in there.
Oh.
So I've got you a traditional. These were called Tip Tops, I think, or Top Tips. Somebody will tell us. They're now called Big Time, and they were everywhere with these little plasticky tops.
The cinema as well, didn't you?
I think you did.
Yeah.
You got square ones as well as round ones. So I got you them. But the thing is, you see what they've changed with the straws, Andy?
They've made them paper.
Yeah. Nothing nicer than sucking squash through papier-mâché. So I've got you enough straws to get through it. There's about 10 straws there. But I've also got you a proper salt and shake bag of crisps.
Now, I remember salt and shake.
Yeah.
And the whole selling point of these was you had to tear the little packet of salt open and shake it and eat it.
Everything was effort, wasn't it?
Yeah. But this was the selling point. They're saying instead of, don't buy the normal crisps where they come ready salted, clues in the name.
Yeah.
Here's one where you have to go, you have to do that little bit extra.
Yeah. It's a bit of effort, but it's salt it yourself, have a bit of fun. I mean, I think that these were obviously predate the 80s. These were pre-salted crisps, so this is back in the day where people would actually have to, if they wanted to season their crisps, then they could. But in the 80s, Christ, this was a novelty, and you get it at your nan's, wouldn't you, around your nan's house. Do you want one of them? It's like a lolly.
I remember these.
What were they called? No, they were never called anything, I don't think.
They were just lollies from the street.
Were they? But they were like a thick...
Yeah, these were the ones that you might get if you'd been to the dentist and you didn't. Bizarrely, if you didn't make a fuss at the dentist, they would give you a badge and you want a lollipop to suck on the way home. Obviously a way of getting you back in, because I think then the dentist used to get paid per filling, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's become clear now.
Yeah.
Become clear.
Yeah, we see through you, dentists. Stop it. Now you get a sticker if you're lucky.
Uses a sticker.
No, I can't eat a sticker. I'll give it a go. And there's drumsticks.
To pull those fillings out.
Yeah, pull your teeth out. Have that. I mean, the sweets were deadly and chocolate bars were deadly in the 80s. My favourite was a Texan bar. Do you remember Texan bars?
Do you know what? I know Texan bars are famous.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever had a Texan bar.
They were my favourite. And I think that's where the Americans got all paranoid about having their teeth sorted, because they would definitely pull out 1 or 2 molars if you bit into one of them. Proper, we used to call it nuggets, but nougat, right? Nougat.
Nugget, yeah, nugget.
And proper thick chocolate. All right, they brought them back for about 6 months in the early 2000s, late 90s. It was like chewing on a slug. It was the softest, most awful thing, because they have to consider health and safety. Okay?
Yeah.
They don't want anyone writing in. But drumsticks and those big lolly things that the dentist would give you, any of these, boiled sweets, you name it, you're going to lose a tooth if you go in at it.
Quality Street as well.
Yeah.
The toffee penny.
Yeah.
On the Quality Street. When you took that first bite into it,
Yeah.
when the tub came out at Christmas, your fillings were gone.
But the parents were pleased because the kids stayed quiet for about 4 hours whilst they're trying to finish it. It just couldn't stop chewing the bloody thing. Yeah, and got some fizzers and we've got refreshers in here.
What was the difference between fizzers and refreshers, or were they the same thing?
I couldn't tell you. We've got these. My wife loves these Parma Violets. I think it's just like eating bloody soap. So, but they were great, weren't they? I just love them. Now, this, I'll show you. Sherbet fountain. Wonderful. But you know what's happened here? Do you remember they'd all be just lined up, wouldn't they? And there'd be a twist of card at the end, and then the bit of licorice would stick out the top. Looking back, I showed my sons this morning. They said, my God, how did they allow that? And it's a fair point. Weren't kids just sort of licking the tops of them and putting them back in? Because now there's no licorice. It's just a bit of plastic. The licorice used to stick out at the top of it.
I do remember.
Bare and exposed.
And the licorice for me was always the bit that you didn't want.
Yeah.
Because you just wanted what was just pure sugar, wasn't it? You just wanted the pure
crack.
sugar.
That's all it
like
was.
crack.
Yeah, kids just running around off their tits. And Mum said, yeah, go on, have some of that. Have some sherbet. Have loads of sherbet, like the Dib Dab. Oh, you can see it up there. We've got Dib Dabs back here, Dib Dab boxes at the back there. And I called them Dib Dabs. Did you call them Dip Dabs?
No, apparently that's what they are, though, isn't
Dib
it?
Dabs.
But we all called them Dib Dabs.
That's what I said. I checked with the wife last night, thinking maybe I've come unhinged somewhere along the line over the last 40 years. She called them Dib Dabs. I called them Dib Dabs, but they're
all Dib Dabs.
Dip Dabs, because you dip and dab. Makes sense.
No.
No?
No, I'm not having that. I don't care what they put on there.
You've done a typo.
I mean, that, I'm doing all my childhood just because we got it wrong.
I think retrospectively we need to go back, find all the old packaging and scribble it all out, because they've cocked up there. I'm furious.
You did leave one thing in here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a refresher.
Yeah, I know.
And that's another chewy thing.
Yeah. Well, feel how thin that is. The refreshers of the 80s would be twice that thickness. There'd be like an eraser sort of shape to them.
That'd last your day.
Yeah, and you bite in and that sherbet will go into your mouth and you think, oh, God, this is great. And it'll keep you going through double maths, won't it?
Nothing, to be fair, ever keep me going through double maths. Double maths was my favourite.
All the sherbet in the world.
When I did my maths O-level, I got a U.
Oh, dear.
Which means it was too low to score.
You know what you needed? Refresher.
It's a little bit of crack, just to help the concentration going on. So we had those. Of course, there was other things for your packed lunch as well. I'm just going to remind you: were you Club Penguin, Club or Club Marathon?
Penguin.
Penguins.
Yeah.
I used to love a Club because they did have such thick chocolate on.
Oh, a Club biscuit. Yeah. Which flavour though?
Orange.
Yeah, I have got an old Club wrapper in there somewhere. Up here, I'll find it for you whilst you're talking. Go through it.
Orange one
as
well. But do you remember when the other one that we had, which was a peanut bar? Do you remember marathons?
Yeah, I do. Here we go. Look.
Remember marathons? And do you remember? Look at that.
You can't even see it, probably. It's an old Milk Club wrapper.
No chocolate in it.
No chocolate in it, my God, no. Who'd eat that now?
Jingle for that, if you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit.
If you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit, join our club.
One other one that I'm going to bring to you.
Go on.
I'm just going to describe it here. This is how the advert used to go.
When you're working hard and feel a bit peckish, stick out your hand for a Cadbury's Double Decker. Under that thick Cadbury milk chocolate, there's a unique double filling. a crispy, crunchy downstairs mingling with a chewy, rather satisfying top deck. So when you're peckish, catch a Cadbury's Double Decker, the double filling bar for the double filling feeling.
Oh, you do not want a crispy, crunchy downstairs, Andy.
They were,
That's for sure, dear.
they were never the most popular of the bars, but I used to eat them like it only because you could when you were a kid do what you like. I used to eat the top layer first,
Yeah.
and then save the bottom layer, and then have that as a 2-course bit of junk food.
I think we found our speciality subject, Andy. Do you know what? This is going to blow your mind, Andy. I had a double-decker for the first time last week.
You're joking?
Ever. I know I look like I eat, sleep and breathe double-decker bars. But no, I had my first one last week and I quite liked it.
There is a thing, and I was reading up on double-deckers. Somebody told me there's a hint of coffee flavour in there. Did it remind you of coffee? Because I don't ever remember it tasting of coffee.
No, it didn't. And I've never had a Snickers marathon / marathon bar. Never eaten one.
Change the name
Because
of Snickers to marathon or
back into Snickers, yeah.
Snickers. Why did they do that?
I think because it suggested that it was quite sporty eating it. And it definitely isn't.
Maybe.
Get off your arse and eat chocolate.
Just a reminder, we've got our secret sound, our mystery sound coming up very shortly as well.
Okay.
Is it time for my surprise yet?
What? Well, that was a surprise.
My surprise.
That's it. That's Andy's special surprise. It's you've got your packed lunch. What more do you want, mate? We're not going on a coach. I haven't got money to burn. But do you want to pop? Pass me that one.
I'll pop one. One of these.
We'll have a little drink, shall we?
Okay, let's do that.
It's orange because they do other flavours like bubblegum. Do you remember that 80s was when all these weird flavours came out?
Still love the bubblegum. See the proper,
well, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? Bubblegum drink,
yeah.
Bloody mental.
But now, why would you want to make something that's not bubblegum?
I can't even.
Bubblegum flavour. This is going to end in disaster here, isn't it?
Well, look, this is already we've got a problem. The card won't pierce the.
I'm in. I'm through.
No, I'm not.
I'm into the mainframe here.
Oh, right, okay. Does it still taste the same?
It's actually surprisingly.
It is very similar, actually.
Yeah.
What you have to write that I think it was called tip top drinks.
Tits.
Tom Tits. No, that was page 3. But I think that this is big time. These are called sugar free, so it's full of sweetness. So I really need to put this down. But yeah, that's lovely. That does bring back the 80s memories, actually. But I'm now getting a rush of Coach Trip in my head, so maybe I should not have any more than that.
You have that on fish-based sandwiches.
The problem is when you left at 9. You had to get in a bit earlier, didn't you? Get on the coach. You left at 9, and about 8 minutes past 9, everybody started opening their packed lunches.
Yeah, because there was nothing else to do.
Bored.
Well,
You'd moonied someone on the M3, and then you just needed to go open your packed lunch. And that was about the time, 8 minutes in, when I started feeling sick.
We just let that Louis go past outside.
That's a coach just coming to pick me up to take me to Stonehenge.
This is why things were so boring, though, on the coach. You say that. First of all, we never had phones.
No.
So you literally had to make your own entertainment. Nobody was ever organised to do that. So you were just spending the whole time being bored.
Yep.
And the favourite game as well was to wind up the people, especially if you were in the back seat of the coach.
Yeah.
The people driving in the car behind you.
Oh.
They would get all kinds of pictures drawn for them.
Yes.
There would be all kinds of rudeness. You used to get the page 3.
Yeah.
You'd put that on there to impress a mum behind you.
Yeah. And the teachers made the mistake of always sitting in the front. What the hell were they thinking? They know when they're teaching kids, the back row are the idiots. Don't sit in the front, 18 rows away from the idiots. Sit at the back. Mind you, it would have ruined our fun, wouldn't it?
I was going to say maybe they kind of cottoned on to that. They thought, I don't want to know what's going on. It's a day off for the teachers as well.
Of course it is.
So maybe that was the
always weird.
The thing,
because they were in their mufti, weren't they? Normal clothes. That was always bizarre. A teacher in normal clothes, like they're monsters, just weirdos. They always look like serial killers in normal clothes, didn't they?
I always remember one of my teachers. I still vividly remember this, and it was an out of school activity that we went on, and he arrived in jeans, and I'd never, ever seen a teacher wearing jeans.
Well, let's be honest. I don't think many grown-ups wore jeans. Not huge amounts. It was always ladies in dresses and men in flipping chinos or some weird sort of cloth trouser. Certainly the early 80s. I don't know what that was.
Slacks.
Yeah, that's it. And
cords.
I remember I went in late 80s, I was getting into fashion, maybe. I mean, I know you were already nearly retired, but late 80s, I took my dad to get double denim in Commercial Road somewhere. And it was mind-blowing seeing my dad in jeans. And he was only in his 30s, but it was just crazy times.
Shall we move on?
Yeah.
Our new mystery sound.
Go on.
This week.
I'm going to take another sip of a big-time tip-top.
Don't go off your face.
I might do. I'm not opening the Corona. Don't worry.
Artificial additives.
I don't want fruit acid.
So just before we play the sound, what is the prize this week?
Well, I thought I'd mix it up a bit, Andy. I'm going to do 2 tickets to my tour show. Now, listeners and viewers, you lucky buggers, you're getting all this in 3D. We are getting some Bring Back the 80s t-shirts done, okay? And they'll come in all sizes. They'll come in my size, your size, and normal size. And so if you answer questions in future episodes, you have the option. Oh, you don't have to feel punished. You don't have to feel punished.
Okay.
It's not 2 tickets or 100 tickets to my show. You could get a Bring Back the 80s special t-shirt, which I'm sure we'll sign, which will halve the value. Oops.
Special t-shirts from a special person.
Thank you.
So this is this week's sound. I'm not going to say what it is. Don't say what it is, but let me know if you know for sure. Do you know?
Yeah.
If you don't haven't, you need to know. You need to let us know if you know for a pair of tickets to one of James's shows.
Bring Back the 80s show, yeah.
For a Bring Back the 80s t-shirt. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Let us know. And the trouble is now there are so many different ways to let us know, because since last week's episode, we've now got Twitter.
Yep.
We've now got Facebook.
Mental.
We've now got email.
Yep.
We've now got Instagram.
Yep. And we're on teletext and CFAX.
We've got YouTube as well. So we brought it all together in one handy place.
Yeah.
And if you go to bringbacktheatiespodcast.com, don't act surprised.
It's the future. It's the internet. I've heard of it.
Bringbacktheatiespodcast.com. You can find all our socials on there. It's just easier to make that your starting point, and that is where you can find every new episode of the podcast.
And old ones.
We'll play one more, and old ones as well, if you really want to relive the misery. Here it comes again. If you know what that is, drop us a line, or even better, if you send us a little voice note.
Oh, yeah.
You can do that on the homepage of the podcast.
Yes, and we'll play all the wrong ones and the idiots at the next episode. Is it Optimus Prime?
It could be.
I've given it away now.
On the subject of things on the telly as well, we were talking about obviously the foods that we used to love to eat back in the day. Do you remember how boring home cooking was at the time? Yeah, the adverts were the most exciting part of boring food of the 80s. That was definitely it, because waffly versatile. I thought, oh, that sounds great, Mum. Eat it. Oh, God, it's like cardboard. It's all beige, wasn't it? And I remember as well, there was a new advert for what was essentially baked beans with little sausages in it. Yes. Baked beans with little sausages. In a tin? In a tin. Mental, yeah. And it was good, but they advertised it on telly as Bangers and Beans by Heinz. But it was like a cowboy. They themed it on a cowboy. The whole advert was cowboys. Oh, because he was out in the outback somewhere, out in the Wild West. Bangers and Beans by Heinz. And I went down to our local shop and I said, I could have a can of one of these Bangers and Beans by Heinz, please. And they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And we looked together and said, oh, you mean beans with sausages? Yeah, the English version. You were conned by the adverts. Conned by the adverts, but still partial to Bangers and Beans in a tin. In a tin, why not? Bang it all together, literally. Tonight. But then, now we get like thousands of different cooking programs on the TV. Infinite. Teaching us how to do things. I just want to give you a little clip to the beginning of probably one of the most groundbreaking cooking shows. You might not remember this, depends whether you're into your food or not, but I'm just going to play you this little clip and see if it means anything at all to you.
I'm in some of the richest fishing grounds of Europe. What we'd reject, our European neighbours relish, and they revel in interesting dishes like bouillabaisse and squid, and of course they drink down buckets of wine with it. Any ideas?
Is that Floyd somebody?
It's Keith Floyd.
Yeah.
Floyd on fish.
I remember him because he was like this... Because cooks and chefs on TV were happy, weren't they?
Yeah.
That's the difference. They seem so angry these days.
He was one of the first ones, though, to do cooking out of the studio.
Yeah.
He would go and cook on a harbour side or something. He was always pissed.
Shit-faced.
He was always rude to his guests. He just did not care. And I think I think that's why at the time, obviously I wasn't into cooking at the time. I am a bit now, but at the time I just used to watch him for the entertainment.
Yeah.
Because he was always slightly.
Yeah.
He used to drink while he was
Well, I think
working.
now you've mentioned it, Andy, I think that's where my wife gets her culinary skills from, because she's always angry with our guests and shit-faced when she cooks. And I think if you're listening, love, I get it now. I'm with you. Okay, I understand where you've got it all from, and love you.
Well, you covered yourself. You covered yourself perfectly there. But I mean, Keith Floyd, he was like the precursor to all the famous TV chefs now, like we see James Martin.
Of course.
He was who I know is a big fan of Keith Floyd.
Yeah.
And Gordon Ramsay, I think, I was a bit of a debt of gratitude to him as well.
Rusty Lee, she does. Sorry, she learned everything, didn't she, with the prawn balls and the melon, not prawn balls. Fruit cocktail and melon balls.
All for a thing as
Melon cocktails and prawn balls.
I used to do the Chinese cooking show as well.
Oh,
You can cook with Ken Hom.
Ken Hom. I was going to say Gogwan. That is not right at all. That's a different spellings altogether. But yes, Ken Hom. He's still about. He's still about. I've seen him in the old Saturday mornings. I tell you what, though, Andy, Saturday mornings, I think I get up early still out of habit to watch Saturday morning TV because of the swap shop days and watching all of the wonderful TV that we had in the 80s. And it's not the same, because you get up on Saturday mornings and they've changed it all to cooking and food. And if they still had kids' TV Saturday mornings, I wouldn't be fat. But now I get up every Saturday morning and I watch cooking TV shows. Why aren't they bringing? Why is
No kids don't watch TV. None of my kids watch. None of my kids don't even know how to switch the TV on. They're not interested. They're all just on their phones.
On their phones.
Just doing that.
Yeah, I'm on the TV.
Doing that thing.
Yeah, watching it.
So there we go. So so that was I think the first sort of entertaining TV.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. I mean, it was just a outside cook that he never. I don't wonder if the bloke was homeless. He was never indoors anywhere, was he? He was always out in a market somewhere in China, or doing something weird on a beach, or something up a hillside in the wind. No, poor bloke. Somebody you would have thought he could have afforded a home or his kitchen.
Have you got another prop for us? Have you got one?
I mean,
like to use another one?
I mean, I'm going to get this down because this is a classic. I know we've talked about packed lunches, and obviously you had the branded ones if you were lucky enough to get that for Christmas or birthday. But these orange Tupperware tubs, I think, were the answer to every food problem you might ever need. It's just how it would help. Your mum would put anything in it. You name it.
Just the right size for 2 little bits of bread. Can I just do? You might think this is really weird.
Go on. It might smell of something.
It's got the Tupperware smell. It's got that Tupperware smell.
Jesus, it does, yeah. And a bit of pickled onions in it. I don't know what's being kept. Oh, don't. Honestly, that smell made me feel quite ill. The mums would go to Tupperware parties, and they still trade Tupperware. They still trade, as in stocks on the markets of Tupperware values. I don't know what the phrases are. But this is Tupperware. Mums would vanish once every month or so to an Avon party or a Tupperware party.
Yeah, Tupperware parties were big.
Yeah. Why? What's happening? How many tubs do you need? Well, you get them free now with takeaways. You knew in London. You could get all the takeaway boxes you needed when you were in London. But down here, we had to go to Tupperware parties, Andy. We didn't get any free stuff from the Chinese. We didn't have takeaways.
And but that was the beginning of like the whole American idea, wasn't it, of Tupperware parties. There was Avon parties as well. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came Ann Summers party.
Bless her. Different sort of plastic.
Ann Summers parties. Oh, my God.
You go and get different sorts of things to hold different things. Yeah. They'd use plastic in many different ways. I mean, at least these plastic tubs didn't vibrate, Andy. So we were safe. I mean, the opening that to reveal whatever smell it was with the kid next to you was a roll of the dice. You never knew what was going to be revealed when you opened that up. And I wish I hadn't brought it, to be honest with you. We got Quality Street, a proper size Quality Street tin up there, Andy. I don't know if you spotted that.
Selection as well. When you have all the things would be the right size.
Yeah.
They would be the toffee penny would be the one that would stick your teeth together, keep you quiet for at least half an hour.
But I did a little bit of research into the conversion because everyone complains about the size of quality streets, don't they? Everyone says the tins are smaller. Why don't we have big tins, right? That tin there was $7.99 in the 80s. The big one. It's about, what is that? About 9 inches deep. It's 5 times that if you want to convert the money. So you're looking at 40 quid our parents are spending on a quality street tin. Who's going to be spending? And if you said that to mum and dad, why did you spend 40 quid on a tin of quality street? So they said, well, bloody well didn't you, dickhead? And you said, well, you did, because it was $7.99, but it would last all Christmas. You'd lose a fist in it, wouldn't you? Lose your whole arm in it, getting a bloody barrel out.
Always good stuff on at Christmas on the telly as well. But I just want one more clip to play you of an 80s TV show.
Yeah.
Just a teeny tiny bit of it. I just want you to say if you know what this is the start of. Yes?
It's one of two. I'm going to guess Dynasty. Or Dallas.
You got to guess which.
Dynasty.
I would need your final answer now.
Dynasty.
Final answer.
I would say it's Dallas because it's very Texan, that music, and I could see the credits rolling with horses running in fields and stuff.
Is the correct answer.
Come on.
Do you remember how much of a big deal it was when JR was shot?
Yeah, I do remember it as a kid. But I don't know what date it was, but I remember when, what's his face? JR's brother came back in the shower as well. That was all a dream.
Year's worth of show.
Thrown in the bin.
Because I think it was Pamela Ewing had just dreamt an entire series, and all of a sudden her husband was back and everything was normal.
All because did he leave? Did he leave the show? And he said, "I'll come back." Was he killed in it? Was he killed in her dream?
I think he was killed.
Something.
But they had to find a way of getting him back, and the reason was because his wife had a dream that he died.
You know what I think happened there? I think that the writers had a sherbet fountain or a dib-dab, not a dip-dab. And just decided, you know what? Fuck it. It'll be a dream the last year. They're like, what? Oh, have a sherbet dib-dab. You'll be on board in no time.
That was the one of two things that stopped in your memory and stayed in your memory. JR getting shot.
Yeah.
Do you remember that was actually headline BBC News? Do you remember watching that?
I would love that to be headline news.
Here we go.
That's entirely fictional has been making news again. The shooting of JR, the villain of the American TV soap opera Dallas. The secret of whodunit is contained in videotape brought into Heathrow Airport by an American security guard. It'll be kept at a secret location overnight and won't be given to the BBC until tomorrow morning.
That was Jan Lehman, bless her.
Wow.
The big news, the 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock news at night, saying what had happened or what was going to happen in Dallas.
Yeah.
The thing is in America, people already knew.
Yes.
But because we didn't have the internet, we did not know.
No, and had to physically bring a tape in a Securicor van or something, bring it over, maybe a Blue Arrow van, was driving through London to take it to, I don't know where he would take it to, BBC Television Centre, and put it in the machine, ready to broadcast
to play. You could actually imagine somebody there literally pressing a button, ready to go.
Everyone could see it
by the security.
And everyone was locked in, waiting to find out. And then they spoke about it the next day.
There we go. Yeah, that's the thing as well, was it? Because we always used to watch TV at the same time rather than sort of watching it on catch up and do whatever you get. Everybody watched everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Which meant it was like, even though you weren't in each other's houses, it was like a community thing, and you would go to school the next day and just talk about what you saw last night.
I know. And it was the start of video recorders, of course, and timer record, so you could miss out, but you generally would be thinking,
you wanted to watch it, be part of the gang that was watching it.
Of course you did.
So there we go. That's a little TV memory for this week.
I love that.
One more little reminder of our mystery sound for this week. If you know what this sound is.
Oh, it sounds like the start of some sort of rave track in 1990.
Couldn't it? It could be.
Let's
If you know
go.
what that is, bringbackthe80spodcast.com is the place to go. You can leave us a little message in the show notes as well, however you want to do it. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Comment on YouTube if you want to. Let us know what that is. We'll do the draw for the prize, which is
2 tickets to any tour show, and if you want to hold on, you can have a Bring Back the 80s t-shirt, but I reckon 2 tickets is funnier.
next week or next time on the show. We're going to be going away from food. We're going to be going more towards technology.
Yes, technology like sandbags around your microwave, all that sort of crazy stuff. Things that will breakthrough stuff in the 80s that we remember being so exciting.
You say about sandbags around the microwaves, that's because microwaves will give you cancer.
Of course.
Radiation.
Of course. They were radiating everything. They would kill you within a week. Don't get one in the kitchen. Are we going to tackle the main question of this episode, Andy, before we go?
Which is?
Were chocolate bars bigger in the 80s?
Well, we saved it till last.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, do you want me to actually say whether I think that is true or not?
Yeah, let's roll the dice.
I am going to say that chocolate bars definitely were bigger in the 80s.
And you reckon? And was the double decker your favourite?
Double decker was my go-to because you could eat the top layer as your first course, the starter, and then you could go to the biscuit and crunchy bit, the crunchy downstairs, then your second and main course. Yes.
Yeah. And so, what was your second one? What would you go to? What was it? If you couldn't find a double decker on the shelves of the newsagent?
If I a double decker, I would probably go for a club biscuit.
Good. Could you buy them in newsagents?
Yeah, definitely.
Could you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, well, I've got this is my most annoying current chocolate bar, okay, the Yorkie, right?
I did used to love a Yorkie.
Yeah, because they were for men. And...
truck drivers. Yeah.
And they stopped doing that in the 90s. They stopped doing the trucks because it's sexist. Because women can't drive trucks, we all know that. So... Yorkies, this is irony, everybody. Yorkies, they say, no, well, Yorkies are the same. Do you know how I know that Yorkies aren't the same size, mate?
James, tell me how you know that Yorkies are not the same size.
Because they used to have a letter on each chunk. Y-O-R-K-I. There's no space for the E.
Joking.
There you go. Have a look.
Add that to the collection.
Now, here we go. How many grams is that Yorkie there, Andy? Please tell me.
This one here is, I can tell you the calories.
Well, the grammage.
46 grams.
Now,
46.
What these people who are conning us with chocolate, and here I'm starting a revolution, everybody, if you're listening, they didn't bargain on me being an absolute sad case and finding 80s chocolate wrappers. Here today, I can reveal.
I was going to find them, James. It's going to be there.
New Yorkie is out here. It's the whole roast almond. How many grams are you guessing this is? You had 46 on the current one.
Can I hold it up for comparison?
Yeah. How we get? I mean, off to the edges, folded in a bit. How many grams is that one?
I'm going to say it's about 70.
Well, you're not far off. It's 64.
So
that is the original 80s one. 64 grams, and you got 46 there. It's an absolute joke, right? Now look at this one. This is one that they brought out, and it was still available in the shops. A peanut Yorkie, 200 grams.
No way.
They talk about portion control. That
must be for a family for a year.
These days they would insist that you have to share it amongst your family and neighbours. Now, Mars bar. We'll do this as the last one because this is a classic. Mars a day helps you.
You can't say that anymore.
It doesn't. Kind of a Mars a day
because it doesn't. All it does is make you fat.
All right, brilliant Dallas episodes.
Yeah.
This is I can't even see it on there. Anyway, this is a new. Oh, there it is. This is a new one. Okay, and I've got an old one here. An old one, and I'm gonna, as you can see, similar. I mean, it's not far off. But one thing I remember about a Mars bar is you bite into it and it would It would almost a crunch. There was almost a breaking of the chocolate, wasn't there? And then it would string away from your mouth, and you would be like, "Oh, this is lovely, meaty, not meaty." That's not what. We'll have a look. Based on the Corona ingredients, it might have meat in this one. I'll have a little look.
Well, this one is, I had it on 51 grams.
Okay.
51 grams for this one.
This one with soft nugget is 68 grams. 68 grams. And look at what it says on the back. Work, rest and play. Work, rest and play. We could. I mean, let's get back to that. That's why I say fight the power. Let's get work, rest and play back on our chocolate and on our sherbets. I don't think you're on board with this, Andy, but I'm going with it. I'm going to have a sherbet fountain a day, a dib dab, and a Yorkie.
Wash it down with that Corona. I'd love to know how that tastes.
Would you? Have a go, mate. And if he's not back for episode 2, we know what's happened.
You're fine. Speaking of episode 2, we are going to be back in 2 weeks' time for that.
Yeah.
Between now and then, James, what are you up to?
I've got just lots of shows out on the old comedy circuit, all over the place, at Spinnaker Tower, Drayton, you name it, I'm going there. That sounds like I'm just in the south of England. I go all over the place, but yeah, I've got something. And then I'm having a week off in between it all before I next see you, so I'll probably be even more relaxed than I usually am.
Just be chilled out.
Oh, mate, I'll be horizontal.
Out and pleasant to be around.
Slightly for once.
I shall be on the radio doing my usual thing on Wave 105 from 8 p.m. until midnight every weekday night.
Right.
And the Sunday morning breakfast show, lucky me as well. But until then, we'll say thank you for watching, if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on your earphones, if you want to get in touch, take a guess at the Mystery Sound, let us know what you think and anything you'd like us to cover in future. BringBackThe80spodcast.com is the place to go.
It is. Be there or be square.
Until then, we will see you next Tuesday.
And you.
Thanks for listening to this week's edition. We'd love it if you could subscribe in your favourite podcast app. And don't forget, there's a video version on YouTube too. You can contact us using the links in the show notes and on the YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time for another edition of Bring Back the 80s.